What's up, homies? Welcome back to Agents After Hours. Our podcast is for agents who want to talk about the parts of this industry no one wants to say out loud.
We're Erica,
And Paige.
and we're here to bring you unfiltered, unapologetically honest real estate talk. So pour a drink, take a breath, and let's dive in, baby.
Let's pray and hope that my mic, doesn't sound ridiculous this
You
time.
know that was off the dome, right? I don't even have my script up here. So
Would you like a cookie? I made some really good ones. If you come with us tomorrow, then you can bring you some cookies.
No, I'm not going to be able to deal with this today.
So before I hit record, Erica was mad at me, frustrated because I'm a Sour Patch Kid. You want to explain?
Well, I just feel like I couldn't even get my words out because you're like so nice, right? But then I try to be nice to Paige and I'm just like, I don't know. I say something nice or gay. I don't know. And then Paige is like, you need to get over yourself. Get it together. So that's where we're at. But when that happens and you're being lovey-dovey, I'm going to tell you the same thing. And that's going to hit a nerve.
Probably.
And I will record your reaction.
I'd be like, that's so mean. You hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Anyways, what are we talking about today, Paige?
We're going to talk about managing multiple deals with our systems. I feel like people want to be able to increase their business, but maybe get afraid because they don't know if they can handle that workload. But honestly, you don't have to work harder. You just have to make sure that you're working your systems as they should be. Every realtor has, I feel like most brokerages allow like either some type of document collection or document. Like we have zip forms, there's Dotloop out there, there's a lot of other systems, CRMs, things like that. A freaking Google spreadsheet would work as well too if you don't have systems, but essentially using your systems better to make sure that you can handle the workload that you want.
I've been diving into this a lot because my little team is starting to come into fruition. It's in the works. It's coming up. So it's bubbling. It's at the surface. And so I've been really trying to like dive in to figure out like, okay, how can I teach someone? What am I doing? And so one of the things that I think that you could do to like kind of start out is pretend you're going through a transaction or say you get a deal. Take yourself through beginning to end and record all your steps because your system is either going to work for you or against you. It's either going to make your life easier or harder. So you need to be able to take stock of that.
I think that's such a great idea because I think a lot of times people look at the big picture and they're like, okay, well, yeah, I have systems, but then like they really have to like go in microscopically to look at every single step so they can make sure that also how do you like audit yourselves in each of those? And is that the best way to handle it? Or is that where it should be in your system and your, how you go through things, your steps? So I think that's a really good idea. Like record yourself, write it down. Like what exactly you do from the time you get either a buyer or a seller or get under contract. I think that's a great idea. I love that.
Something that they taught us in property management, one of the things I had to do was create like a property playbook. So that way, like if I were to step out immediately, someone would be able to come in, pick up the book and like just do everything. So that's kind of like what I'm diving into currently. So I am really excited to talk about this topic.
Yeah. So just a little bit of like just background, I guess. So people know that we actually do handle multiple transactions at one time and like what level, because I also know that there are some agents that do hundreds of transactions a year and they have a whole team, like they have a transaction coordinator and they have a buyer's agent and a seller's agent and all those things. Like, I feel like for both of us, we're just like, I hate the word mediocre, but we're not like, and I don't like that word because we're not mediocre. We're extraordinary people. But I think our numbers are more maybe realistic or achievable. Is that, I don't want to sound like a backhanded compliment there, but like, how many transactions do you do at one time typically?
I think it's important to say that we're both solo people. So like we have our spouses, of course, but I'm saying like we don't have buyer's agents, sellers agents.
Right.
So like if we're taking someone on, we're taking them to look at houses, we're going to the closings, we're doing all of that. Where a bigger team that's doing 100 transactions a year is able to delegate that.
Absolutely.
I think for myself, anywhere from like 4 to 6, I'm comfy. I feel like I can do that with my eyes closed. It's nothing. I don't feel stretched. If I start getting to like 8 and 9 and they're all kind of like hitting at the same time, that's when it starts to like push my bandwidth a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, same. So, like, I think comfort for me is like 4 to 5. And then I have in the past managed, I think my highest at one time was 10. And I was like, woo, like, hold on. I started getting addresses mixed up, or like someone would call me and ask me a question about one property, and I would answer based off of my thoughts of another. And I'm like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me, let me reset real quick. And, I think that moment for me was when I was like, all right, I got to make sure that I have a good system in place
Hmm.
because I don't want to look like an idiot forgetting which property was what. So,
I remember the first time I had 9 under contract, the very first time. That's when I was like, "Give me a whiteboard, give me a marker, like, I need to know where everything is at," because well, we for context, work in an area where we can kind of, like, cross county lines, and there's different requirements for both places, and so it was just a lot. I'm like, "Do I need a water test? Do I need a what?" Like, it was just crazy, so I had to, like, take the time and, like, draw it out. I'm also a very visual person. As much as I try to do things online, I tend to be a visual, like, we have a whiteboard here because Eris is also the same way.
yeah.
I try to get like, lean us towards, like, the tech stuff, but again, that's where I'm diving in to figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and also both of us are not just we don't just cross county lines, we also cross state lines. Like
True.
our backyard is Michigan. So like we're there too. So like that's those are two counties, Cass and Berrien County up there. And then also here, like I just primarily do St. Joe and Elkhart County, but you also go to LaPorte County. So like you have five counties kind of, if not more, that you primarily focus on. Whereas for me, it's mostly just four. But some people, I mean, they go all over. Like I think about Danielle in our office, and she lives in K County, and she'll just do willy nilly anywhere. And
I
she
don't
was licensed in both states, so it's like, mm-mm.
That's a lot for me. I have to I
Yeah,
feel comfortable in St. Joe. It's like my favorite spot because
yeah,
I know it very well. I'll go to
absolutely,
Laporte. I feel comfy there. I'll do Elkhart, and I do Elkhart. It's like number 3 on my list of faves in Indiana
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I love that. So both of us kind of handle around the same amount of deals, like what our comfort levels are. So how do you how do you handle that? So like when you first get under contract, like what does that look like for you?
Okay.
We're diving right in. The meat and potatoes.
Okay. So I do think also it is important to note that, like, I have said it before, I know I'm not the only person here in the world that's neurodivergent. So I tend to like try to switch it up. If I'm slow, I'm trying to like switch it up to see how I can better do it to make it
Yeah.
easier. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, fuck this. This is awful." So what where I'm currently at right now is I am starting to utilize more of the tools that we have available to us. And so I get a buyer. We'll say I get a buyer. My first thing, this is a new thing I'm implementing, but my new thing is instead of sitting down and doing a whole buyer consult, my first step is like, let's do a discovery call, 10 minutes. Like, where are you at?
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing? Because if you need a lender, let's get you there. If you're already pre-approved, like, we can skip forward. So I'm trying to like spend less time doing things. Like, I don't want to give like sit and do a 30-minute buyer consult with someone who is not there yet because they're going to forget everything.
Yeah.
So, kind of switching it up, breaking it down more into like, okay, step 1, let's do a discovery call. This is where you're at. Cool. Here's a lender. Let's meet back. Then we're going to do a consult. From there, this is where I struggle because I don't love the search, like setting them up on a search, and I will do it, and I do it. And that's kind of like after we have the buyer consult and they're pre-approved. I'm currently trying to decide if I want to do it more in the MLS or if I want to do it more in the CRM because both are great. Not great for me. I don't like either of them. I don't know. Maybe I just need to tweak like how I'm like.
Mhm.
I don't like people getting on there and like hearting something because what does that mean? Like, do you want to see it? Like, where are we at? Are you just hearting it for your own mental, like, oh, I like this one. I thought it was cool. I don't know. They go on a search, we see the houses, then they go under contract, we write an offer. I had I would typically like have a quick call with them, go over the offer. I am restructuring that system. It's under construction just to save time and for the sake of simplicity. Then once they go under contract, how I manage them is currently on whiteboard, but it's kind of moving to more online.
Yeah.
But I schedule the inspections first and foremost the same day. I have a lot of email templates, so as soon as they go under contract, they're getting an under contract email that has their deadlines, which I just spent time going through and like revamping all my templates to make sure that they were concise, clear, and less words. I want to be very clear. Like, What is it that you need to know? And so I have different times in the transaction that different things will go out that I need to say, and then we close.
So I think something that's so maybe underutilized is having email templates or just pre-written scripts. So I'm gonna kind of pull from what you said. So you said you have a discovery call. A lot of times I have clients that would prefer to text. So I just thought about this yesterday. So I still it's under construction as well too. But like when someone texts me and is like, "Hey Paige, I'm looking to sell my house. I was told that you can help. Hey Paige, I'm looking to buy a house. I was told you could help." What am I saying next?
Mhm.
Because ideally I would just like pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, where you at? What you doing?" Well, sometimes people don't want a phone call. They would rather have those. And to be frank, I would like that in writing so I can reference back to it. And then also if we run into a problem in the future, I can reference back and be like, "Hey, this is kind of what you said. Are we changing courses here? Like, are we changing our wants or needs or whatever?" I think that I'm going to work on like a text template when people reach out to me because most of the time they message me on Facebook or they text me. Also, I started and I have it pinned because I have an Apple, so I have it pinned on my notes. Summary of docs. So like I have a summary of the listing contract, I have a summary of the purchase agreement, I have a summary of the buyer's agency agreement. So all I have to do is go in there and change the terms, the details for each one. And that is such a time saver if you're not meeting with them face to face. If you're doing it on a phone call or if you're doing it via text message or just sending them a quick summary text before they sign, things like that. I feel like having email templates is so underrated. And then also when we're under contract, I have a what's next, how you say like your timelines and stuff like that. As soon as we're under contract, I'm sending off a what's next and it has like 6 steps. And that's like dropping off your earnest money, and when we have to do inspections, when you have to get homeowners insurance, and then from the seller side, like making sure they remember about the final walkthrough and how do they want the status of their house? Do they want it active accepting backup offers or do they want it or pending so they can't allow any showing? So like I have all of those steps broken down and they immediately get that PDF after they're under contract.
Mhm. Mhm.
Such an underutilized, I feel like, step.
Well, something that I did too when I was redoing my email templates, that was like last week. And I had originally got them from Hustle Humbly. I've used them for like probably 3 years. However, as I grow and evolve, I wanted to tweak them. I did use AI to like help me kind of like, hey, what can I take out of here? How can I make this simpler? But I also wrote them myself so that way they sound like me. But one of the things that I did do was break down the offer, which I hadn't done that before. So I'm hoping that that saves time. Now, if there's someone that's like, I'm not going to read all that, I mean, I don't know. At that point, it's like, well, you're buying a house, like you should, and let me know if you have questions. And then once you read through it and you read my summary, you read the document like side by side, you shouldn't have any, but if you do, like I'm here to help. But I think that would save a lot of time. And then when we're in a house that they're pretty confident they're going to write an offer and just bringing certain things up in conversation, just like, okay, earnest money, warranty, we're going to do inspections. Like I'm going to put in timelines that I feel like are fair. It's not really going to matter to them because like they're not going to know the difference between 10 and 12 days. I am going to know the difference between 10 and 12 days because I know, when I'm scheduling things, how that's going to look. So simplifying it, I'm trying to simplify the customer experience too.
Yeah. So when it comes to those timelines, one thing that I think gets missed a lot is like people are just memorizing it or they're like writing it down on a notepad, but they're not actually putting it in their calendar. So for me, as soon as I get something that's under contract, I have it, obviously it's all going to be in an email. So I have that email unread. And as soon as I'm like, if it's like over the weekend, Monday morning, I'll take care of it. And I will process every file, store it away. I'll send out my what's next to my client. I'm ordering inspections. I'm ordering title. I'm putting all of the deadlines in my phone with a 24-hour reminder. Like,
Mhm,
I
mhm,
want to know
mhm.
the day before because, like, what if we have to get more quotes? What if we have to get something further evaluated? I don't know, what if my buyer, like, forgot that tomorrow was the deadline because they're going to, they don't keep track of it, like you just said. So, like,
Mhm.
just being like, hey, our response time is tomorrow. Have you thought any more on these inspections? Like, things like that, like homeowners insurance, that's been a big thing. Why are we not putting that on our calendars anymore? Because
That's really important.
your deadlines on contracts, and I want to talk about this, and this is a different episode, but like covering your bases and knowing what you're doing, like being proactive to save a deal because mutual releases are asinine this year. And that's one thing, like those deadlines in the purchase agreements, those should be on your calendars as you're processing each file.
So As you're saying this, I kind of think of one of the agents in our office had shared this as like a tip about like sharing a checklist with your buyer. That was really intriguing to me because I was like, wow, that would be so easy for someone else to like just like be able to log in and be like, oh, okay, I did this. This is what's next.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about that, but I wonder if I've never done this before, but if when I'm putting it on my calendar, which again I do as well, like the day I'm writing the under contract email because it's like a one and done.
Yeah.
What if we just added them to that?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that would be something I try.
I think that that would be a great, and it also would add accountability to the other side of like, I feel like, so when we sat through Summer Summit, all of these things, there's so much liability on us realtors. And I was talking to somebody on the state level about it, and he was like, I really just wish that people would take this more serious because of how much we have to be responsible for. Because, like, I think we were talking about adding data centers onto the seller's disclosure, and if that needed to be disclosed. And I'm like, at what point are the sellers solely responsible for all these disclosures, but the buyer's not responsible for any research on a house that they're buying? Like, they have to research like sex offenders and crime and things like that. At what point do we put that liability back on the buyer to make sure that they're also entering a contract with all of the information? And yes, obviously that's my job to make sure that but I can't be an expert at all fields. So like, I do think that it would be helpful to put a little bit responsibility onto the clients. Obviously that's our job, but just like a second set of eyes as well too. Like, they know that this is also their transaction that they need to help be a part of, an active part of.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because like a seller has already been through the process, but at the same time if they haven't sold before, they haven't sold before and it's still a first time for them. How
Yeah.
are we going to keep track of all these there's data centers around every corner right now. So like
Yeah.
that just seems a little crazy. But yeah, you would kind of want to know. I don't know.
Yeah. The person I spoke to, he actually had a really good response back to that. And I mean, it made sense to me. I'm gonna read it. So I said, they mentioned data centers on the seller's disclosure. We have airports, military bases. If we add center, why not add train tracks and factories, etc.? At what point do we put the liability in the buyer to do their own research on areas and what surrounds it, like we do for sex offender registries and crime? And he said, with data centers like airports, military bases, they can have a material impact to the person who owns the property due to the increased utility costs and other factors. That is why they asked the question of whether or not it should be something we disclose. Port and military bases can also have noise impacts, which is why they must be disclosed. Sex offenders being located in an area is a personal preference on whether or not someone is willing to take the chance of living in that area or not. So that's
Sure.
why the liability remains with them. So that makes sense. Like, I get that. Whereas crime and sex offenders, meth labs, old houses with meth labs, those are more like
Personal.
personal preference. But meth labs have to be disclosed too. So, but again, so yeah, a little, but still, regardless, like I think that's a great idea to also put them on the calendar invite for deadlines.
I also like the idea of the shared checklist or something along those lines. Like, I don't know, there's like not like a portal or anything, but something like that would be really cool. Like, I know lenders have that. Like, portals are like, okay, you've reached 3 of 5 milestones. And so that way the buyer can
Yeah.
physically see where they are. I don't know. I don't know. Just an idea.
So I know that on Zip Forms, and I don't know what this looks like, and maybe we could do a trial run on this, but on Zip Forms, you can invite people to a transaction so they can see the steps. Now, I don't know what that looks like, and if I'm not the one updating the steps, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Because there is a checklist available, that function is available on Zip Forms. I just don't utilize it. But like, if we did utilize it, you can invite them and they could follow along that way. Otherwise, I just have a PDF that kind of has like a checklist of where we're at in the process.
Uh-huh. There's also one in Lofty, which it makes me wonder, like, if you started the process there, where they were searching there and they had the portal and everything, would they be more comfortable to like follow through
Yeah.
in that way? I don't know. I'll let you know
Yeah.
when I do
Yeah.
some digging.
I think that's a
That's
great
something I
idea.
want to look into.
Yeah. So what happens when a client goes under contract? That's kind of wanted to break that down. So obviously I update them, send them the list, order all the inspections and things like that. But I don't know if you do, but I also use Zip Forms like to keep me on track of like what's pending. And so like if something goes under contract, I'll mark it pending. And then there's like a summary tab in there and there's note tabs, and I will fill out information in there too. And so I can stay up to date and like as a reminder. I also have like a to-do list, and at the top of the to-do list is all of my like active clients or pending deals up there as well too. So I have it like not only in zip forms, but I also have it on my to-do list so I can make sure that I'm staying up to date, and I check those daily.
That's something that's super important. So part of something that they teach us in our coaching program is to have like meetups twice a week where you're like checking in with things like that. Also, if you have like a date specifically with like your sellers that you're checking in on them or your buyers, like if you check in with sellers on Tuesdays and you check in with buyers on Wednesdays, realistically, I'm talking to my buyers almost every single day likely when they, when they're in the thick of things. But you kind of have like I kind of have a default where like, okay, we'll talk on this day,
I don't
like,
do that yet.
just to make some contact. No, it keeps me accountable. But, like, the point of, like, the meeting, so, like, for example, it's Eris and I that kind of work as a team.
Mhm.
We're getting to the point where we are starting to, like, divide, like, where we take, because we kind of work everything together, so, like, we're kind of working on, "Okay, this is something I like to do, this is something you don't like to do," so, like, and so the team meetings are for, like, us kind of convening for that, because the coach that we use also is, like, a husband-wife team.
I love that.
Well, it made a lot of sense for us. So they
Yeah.
kinda, that's one of the things that we do, and it's just like an event on our calendar, and so, like, Mondays and Fridays or Thursdays, it's just like a kind of like a check-in, that way nothing gets lost. Now, what I will say is in my deep dive into the CRM, I've also learned that you can set up, like, tasks and things, like, for example, I needed to check in on a water test, so I just put that on there, and it's easy because if I'm getting in the habit of checking it, which is my plan, then I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I need to check in on that today." The one thing I will say is I don't like, they have it to where you can, like, upload your actual documents and stuff. I'm not gonna take it that far because I'm not gonna spend time, like, double doing everything,
Yeah, yeah.
but at least, it's like the steps are there.
I want to touch on that real quick, the CRMs, because like I know that there are some agents that I've talked to that don't like to use the company provided CRMs because they feel like their leads will be owned by their company. Little unshameless plug about Brickbill. In our independent contractor form, I have written out clear as day that unless it's a company generated lead, any lead that's in your CRM is yours to take. Like exporting features are on, so you can export all your leads if you decide to make a change or anything like that. But I know a lot of people don't like using their company CRMs for that reason only. So they just don't go and utilize a CRM in any way, shape, or form because they don't want to use the company one and they don't want to pay for it.
I never like to use them either, and Paige, you can probably attest to, like, I've been randomly texting you, like, "Did you know you can do this? Did you know you can do this?" Because
She
what I
wasn't just texting me. She also sat down at my desk in front of me and rambled everything. Do you know that you could do this? Did you know this? And she taught me a thing or
Well,
two.
the thing of it is like, look, the whole point of this episode is to be able to manage more while doing less, right?
Yeah.
And like your system of things. Google Sheets, they drive me crazy,
Oh, I
quite
love them.
frankly. I know you do, and I love that for you. It's very overwhelming for me when there's so many in different places, right? It's like update this sheet, then go and update this sheet, and then do the. I don't know. So what I've learned is like whether you pay for a CRM and maybe it's $50 a month, I don't know what it costs, but like it's kind of a cost to do business. And
Hmm.
I am starting to become a huge advocate for this because if you're starting a team, you have access to your team through there, but not only is it a place to keep track of people from your past clients, the people that you meet up with, like that's I think what you initially think of when you think of CRM, but I think that we're at a point in the business and AI that like they do so much more than that. And so if you're utilizing it, I don't have to log into 20 Google Sheets a day. I'm just logging into Lofty and I'm like, okay, this is this. One of the reasons I didn't like getting on there was because it would auto generate these like, you need to do this, follow up with this person. There's red flags everywhere and the to-do list is like 20 things long and I don't like that. So what I learned is like you can customize that and like just you can make it work for you. So like maybe I'm not getting updated of like these random leads that are just popping in there, but it's customized to fit what I need it to do.
100%.
And I'm loving it so far.
I think it's a lot of just like taking that extra step. And maybe that's something like, and I think we've touched about it briefly, like on some of our like episodes that are towards the end of the year, like now that you're slow, what can you do? But like this is a prime example. Like work on your CRM. And if you don't want to use a company CRM, there's so many others that you can buy, like Flowdesk or Follow Up Boss, that like are separate and are affordable just for you. But like you really should be using something. Or like, yes, you can use Google Sheets. That's an option. But as you grow, you're gonna want to like make sure you're optimizing your capacity. And that's going to be really hard to do on something that you manually have to type every time. It'd be nice to have it in one spot.
So if you're trying to stay up to date with everybody, say like if you're utilizing this to some of its capacity and it's like, okay, I have 75, I don't know, just say you have 10. We'll say you have 10. I have 10 people that I had consults with earlier this year that are first time buyers that maybe want to know about the rates just dropped. This would be a really great time to go into your CRM, get those people that you have tagged for like first time buyers and be like, hey, did you know rates just dropped, blah, blah, blah. Do you know how much easier that is than going in your phone and being like, oh, I talked to them, let me text them, let me let them know. Like, it's just so
Copy and
much
pasting the same
easier.
message to everybody, and you could just do a
Yes.
mass text right through your CRM, or a mass email right through your CRM, and you're texting 20 people instead of individually doing it and because then they're going to text back, and you might have to have conversations, but not everybody's going to text back. But like, what if you're in the middle of copying pasting to client number 5 and client number 1 texts you back like, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to reach out to you. Whereas then, like, you could send one mass and they'll all come in and you can sort to see what's important and what's not, what's prioritized and what's not. Like,
Mhm.
or change their tag on their CRM, or change their status, or maybe they went from a cold lead to a warm lead, or maybe they went from a warm to a hot, and you can change all that. Like, there's so many different things that you can do to make sure that you're staying on top of it, and it's quicker. We're
It's
working smarter,
faster.
not harder.
Like, why? Like, I understand the overwhelm. I truly do. But
Mm,
like taking a moment to figure out, okay, this is a really robust thing that can do so much for me. How can
yeah.
I use it to make my life easier? I think that's a mindset that you need to go in with. And I think that it kind of encompasses like everything that we're talking here about systems. And it's not just like, oh, I need to reach out to my people from tell them Merry Christmas. No, it's like, it's way more than that. At least the one
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah. I mean,
It can be transaction management too.
absolutely. And I think that also, and we've talked about this in a different episode, you need to make it work for you and what's going to actually help you. So like, I don't use Lofty for that. I use our CRM for like mass emails, mass notifications, things like that, mass follow-up, home reports. Like, that's a big thing that I love about Lofty, is like, if I have somebody that's like, we're thinking about selling in like a year or two, and I'm just like, cool, home reports. You're going to get those every other month and you're going to know what is being sold around your house. That's automatic follow-up. I don't have to
Hmm.
do nothing. I can follow up twice a year, but then every other month they're getting some kind of touch point from me. I
Yeah.
don't have to do shit. But like my day to day, like, okay, now I'm under contract. What am I doing next? That is more mental. And then also writing it on my to-do list, and also referencing back to zip forms.
I think that like a lot of the things that we do are similar. The initial like under contract part, I feel like we handle very similarly, like with the emails and the things, but like how we keep track of them is kind of different. But again, mine
Yeah.
changes like all the time.
And you have to do what works for you. But I would say, in a nutshell, utilizing your systems and having email templates or document templates or what's next templates, things like that, ready to go, locked and loaded. So that's one less thing you have to explain again. Like, because if you're dealing with, like, we're just gonna say 8, we're gonna call it 8. Like, we're just gonna say we're both busy. We've had a great month. We're dealing with 8 at one time. Could you imagine for each 8 of those person retyping a summary or repeating the same conversation that you've had 7 other times, saying the same shit? If you just had an email template or a summary template, you could knock that out. And then, like, if you're detailed, they don't have questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can reference back to it and be like, hey, and they're like, oh, I don't remember you telling me that.
I've learned
Back
how
on May
important.
22nd at 4 p.m., I sent this text message that said that.
Yeah. I've been learning how important it is to have things in writing, especially like I remember there was one instance where I would not send a document until I sent an email. What I was stating is that, can you please confirm? And until I got the yes, this is good, I wouldn't send the document for signature. And if we were late for a deadline, I would say that.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, especially with everybody's so occupied, preoccupied, everybody's like just trying to like keep themselves happy and keep themselves going, and their minds are so cluttered. And they forget things. You have to have things in writing for not only your protection, but also for their easy access, so they can reference back to it when maybe they're having a better day, or maybe they have more mind capacity to sit down and like read that. But like, it's so important.
Well, their experience is really important.
Yeah.
And like if they feel rushed around because you have 8 transactions, they're gonna feel that. And like the goal is to make them not feel that. And so the more seamless you can do it, and the less you're physically doing is more important. And that's something that I have learned a lot this year is to use the things that you have. I'm sure I would assume at the majority of the brokerages, you have some type of resources that you may not be using, whether it's like an admin or like a TC or anything like that. You should definitely be using that to your advantage. And I was the agent that was like, no, I have to do all of this because somebody's going to screw it up. Not really. Like if you relinquish some of that control, it's going to make your life a lot easier. And that doesn't mean that you can't follow up with them and be like, hey, just checking in on this, because you're kind of keeping a loose eye on the time and the date and the things like that. But you don't have to be the one in the thick of it. Just let go a little bit and you can take more on.
So I want to, now that I have it, I'm not afraid to talk about it. But like, so essentially, I worked for an independent brokerage and then a franchise before I opened my own. And I essentially wanted to create a hybrid between the two. So I remember with my franchise brokerage, they were like, we have a TC here for you. And you're able to use her at your disposal. So you can focus on the things you actually like doing, which is selling. And I remember when I opened Brick Belt, I'm like, that's my goal. I need a TC so my agents can focus on the things that they love to do. And so obviously this year we brought on a new TC and she hasn't done everything that a TC is supposed to do, but just that little bit has helped and taken off so much like of people's plates. But like eventually this is going to snowball into us agents being able to better utilize our time because we're using our resources.
Something that I'm the one that listens to a lot of podcasts and does a lot of that. One of the things that I have learned too is like even at brokerages that don't offer that, you can still hire like a VA. You can
Yes.
for like cheap to do things like I don't want to make a Canva flyer because yes, I need one, but I don't want to spend the time to do it or to design the postcards. And there's websites that you can find virtual assistants that can help you with that.
Like
Okay.
ChatGPT can help with that as well too, like creating graphics.
It integrates with Canva. So does our CRM, by the way, which is pretty freaking cool.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, and you can change things, but yeah, don't use what you have. I feel like now, imagine if we were the agents in the 80s. Like, look at all the tools that we have now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's
Whether your brokerage provides them or not. At the same time, I also think that like I'm very fortunate that my brokerage has a lot of cool shit, but like if it didn't, that's something I would be purchasing on my own as a cost of do business,
Yeah. One other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, and I think it might drive people nuts, but I'm going to say it, and it might be a hot take, but so say you have 5 transactions going on at one time, and you have 2 that are just nightmares. They're on fire. You feel like a fucking fire extinguisher every day. And those 2 take a lot of time. And you know that there is another transaction that has a deadline maybe in 10 days. And you're like, okay, I have everything I need to write a response. However, I'm going to need 24 hours before I can focus on that. And other agents get mad. They're like, well, why didn't you tell me sooner? I don't know, because I had like 8 other transactions I was trying to put out on a fire. And like, this wasn't an emergency right now. Like, you couldn't wait 24 hours. And I know people hate that because they're like, why didn't you tell me as soon as you knew? And time is of the essence, and I get that. But like at the same time, if I have 2 or 3 transactions that are like on fire and I have the smooth sailing one, I'm going to wait 24 hours to respond because that prioritizing. And we talk about that a lot in this business and a lot of other aspects, but never when we're in the middle of a transaction on what needs to be prioritized.
To that note though, like when you're writing a purchase agreement, you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to have, let's just say 30 days and we'll call it easy. That's about how long it takes here to close a deal from beginning to end. Yes, you have the one-offs. If you're doing your inspection periods within 12 days, that is still plenty of time to have everything done and wrapped up by the time it's time to close if everything else goes smoothly. So like if I knew about this 24 hours ago, it's not really impacting our deadline unless you make it impact the deadline and you don't respond.
And on the flip side of that, if you have 12 days and you're just trying to wrap it up and send me a buyer's inspection response within 5 days and you're like, pending water report. No, don't send me a freaking response yet. You have 10 extra days. Wait. Just wait.
Yeah, I also
don't be sending me some incomplete bullshit. What am I going to do with that? I'm just going to say we're going to hold tight.
I have had to do that in the past when like the the place is like backed up or they're not getting
That's
me my shit or something like
that's
that. I'm like,
different.
let's just move on from that because, I mean, a water test is like typically not going to make or break a transaction. It's typically something pretty small that you can resolve. So, like, let's just move it on.
Right.
We can put a
Right.
number on it. We can do a worst case scenario number and
Right.
figure out everything else.
I usually only do that though if I'm at the end of my deadline and I need a response. I'm not doing it when I still have 10 more days left on my response.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
we
agree.
have timelines for a reason. I get time is of an essence as well too, but like sometimes when you're managing multiple transactions, that wasn't a priority today. That can be a priority tomorrow.
Time is of the essence.
Yes.
Also, we need to have some calmness in our lives and patience, and we need to be able to decipher as adults what needs to be done first. And we need to have the patience as adults on the other side of things
Hmm.
to wait our turn. It's simple manners.
We don't have a lot of that or consideration. Not today. Not
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 today.
not today.
Not in
But
today's world.
no, and that's okay. But like in business, I think it also makes or break the other agent you're working with. Like, does the other agent you're working with have manners? I have it on a note for a different episode, but like I have talked about it before, vet buyers, but also vet their agents. And this is a new thing, like where it ended up backfiring in my face. And I'm going to talk about it. We're going to go on a quick little tangent. But like somebody called me and they're like, hey, we really like your offer. Can you tell me how you sell, like how you discuss inspections with your buyers and like what to ask for? And I sold it. Like I was like, this is what I tell my clients, which is what I tell everybody. And she's like, okay, we're going with your offer because of that. And I'm like, perfect. So then we get the inspections and there is some big ticket things. And then so I tell her, I'm like, hey, just as a heads up, there's some big ticket things. I'm so sorry. Here you go. And she was like, wow, this is disheartening that we waited until the last day for this. Here's a mutual release. And I'm like, okay, they had a backup offer. But they were big things. They were big things that should have been redisclosed. And I know damn well that they weren't. Like,
That's
I'm
what
not,
I was going to say.
and I'm not talking, like, when I say big things, I'm talking about, like, the electrical panel was on a wall that was bowing significantly. Like, the whole thing was just going to, like, and all the wiring of the electrical was going to shift, and that made a huge deal. And all I'm at, like, carbon fiber strips, the furnace didn't work. The water heater didn't work.
Didn't work?
Didn't work!
What? That's health and safety.
It wasn't even major things. And I also had another mutual release because a furnace, AC, water heater the breaker possibly wasn't even on. And they didn't want to even touch those. And they told us to do inspections because the seller wanted a to-do list of things he needed to prepare. And we did that.
So he wanted you to pay for it.
We wrote up an addendum that if we were doing inspections before the house was ready, that they would be paying for the inspections. So if they mutual released. And so
Always think 10 steps ahead.
Always. So, but yeah.
I hope that helped.
I hope that was given something. Like, okay, you have a question in here, Erica. If 5 new clients came through tomorrow, would it break your business?
No,
Would your
absolutely
business
not.
break?
Bring them on, baby.
I literally just signed 2 listing contracts. I took on a new buyer and had a listing appointment all within like 2 days.
Yep.
And I'm leaving
go.
for Cedar Point tomorrow. Well,
Let's
by the
go.
time this drops, I'll be in Cedar Point. So,
On the dragster.
I don't ride that.
Lame.
If you go, I'll ride it with you.
Really? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you go, I'll go.
Sold.
All right, guys, that is all we got for you. Make sure that you have a to-do list. Make sure you have a good system in place, either your document collection system or a CRM or a Google Sheet. Make sure that you guys have steps. Get your templates ready to go. Get the summaries of the documents ready to go. Get next steps ready to go. Get your checklist ready to go.
Aside from that, my system isn't going to work for Paige. Paige's system isn't going to work for me. So taking the time, I don't care if you have to stay up an hour later. Take the time to figure out what's going to work for you because it's your business and you have to be in control of it. It's, you have to be able to guide your clients through that. Ultimately, that's
real
your
estate is a roller
responsibility.
coaster.
It is.
Buckle in.
Let's go.
Yep.
To the
All
moon.
right, I don't have our thingy in front of us, but make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube at Agents After Hours Podcast for more behind the scenes, chaos, real estate talk, and unfiltered conversations.
We did talk a lot about templates today, and Hustle Humbly has a lot of really great resources for that. And you can use code After Hours for $100 off their email templates, and they are really, really great and tie into everything that we talked about today. And you can also use code After Hours for a discount on Modern Agent Social Club if you need a system for your social media.
Also, you can shop some of our favorite things at our Amazon storefront. It is Agents After Hours Amazon storefront. We'll have a link as well, too, in our description. I have been updating them I know I have a couple more things I want to throw in there, and Erica is updating them as well too for her side of things. So make sure
Yep.
you go and take a look at it and shop some of our favorites and maybe some useful stuff. But that's all we got for you.
Awesome. See you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.